Hi, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. If you've not followed this channel before, please do, because this is where myself, Craig Hamilton Parker, as a psychic medium, discuss the future. And today I'm going to be looking at Nostradamus and give you some thoughts about that. So it's the time of the year, actually, when the newspapers tend to pick up on Nostradamus quite a lot. And it seems every year it's always the same. The year to come is going to be the biggest catastrophe ever, and all these Nostradamus predictions are going to come true, which is interesting. And then they all pick up on each other, and you get the same sort of messages being pumped out about Nostradamus. Now, Nostradamus was um, he was writing in 1555, so that's in the 16th century. So he was French, as you know, I expect, an astrologer, but more of a seer, actually, because his predictions are very difficult to date, because he made these predictions. He made 942 sort of verses, poetic sort of verses. They were called quatrains, and he wrote these all down, but he didn't do them in date order as we would know it. He didn't say this will happen in 2024 or this will happen in this date. He kind of muddled them all up, which made it kind of more um, fascinating in some ways for people looking back at it. And you'd see things in Nostradamus where he's predicted things like Napoleon and Hitler, who he called Hisler, and the deaths of kings and so forth. He got a lot right, but we won't go into all that now. But often some of those predictions have been understood in retrospect when we've looked back at it and said, that's what he must have meant. So it's very hard for us to sort of say, this is what Nostradamus is going to be predicting in 2024. But the press love to have a stab at it. And every year it seems to be the same stuff. And sooner or later it'll happen, I expect. But it's interesting because myself, as a person that obviously is a psychic and a medium, and if you follow the channel, you'll know that I've been making many predictions over the years and getting a lot right, hopefully. And the press have called me the new Nostradamus, which I don't know if that's a good accolade or not. I think it's a good one, hopefully. So he's made a number of predictions that the press are picking up on for 2024, and you'll see it all over the press at the moment. So let's have a look at some of the things that he's been is being quoted at the moment for Nostradamus. Now, one of the first ones is the tensions with Taiwan. This is something I thought would have happened by now, actually, if I'm honest. I thought we were going to get it right now in December, right following my predictions of the Gaza conflicts that you read about or watched rather. So they're picking up on the fact that it could be a naval battle of some sort. As tensions grow in Taiwan, the US will have a combat and naval battle. That's one of the kind of lines that's been picked up about this. So whether there's going to be a naval battle with Taiwan is the sort of likelihood, isn't it? If China does make a move on Taiwan, it's going to be a naval battle first. In my predictions, it was slightly different. I said it would be a submarine, accidental submarine collision and a possible airplane collision. There's some collision, something goes wrong in the maneuvers. But Nostradamus said this. So he said, Nostradamus predicted a red adversary will become pale with fear, putting the great ocean in dread. That's what they pulled out. That's translated from the old French, of course. So there's questionable exactly how it could be. But a red adversary, what did he mean by that? A red adversary. It sounds very much like China, doesn't it? A red adversary. Become pale with fear. So would the red adversary, China, become pale with fear? Would they lose the battle suggested by that? Would they lose the battle? And would a battle perhaps be fought in the ocean, in the China seas, or in the seas around Taiwan? So that's one of the predictions that the press have picked up on. They obviously all love a royal prediction as well. And one of the very contentious predictions made by Nostradamus relates to what people have interpreted as being Prince Harry, that King Charles will be replaced by what's a surprising choice with Prince Harry, who is actually not the heir to the UK throne at all. It would be a kind of pretty weird if Prince Harry was actually ever to become king, because the line of succession doesn't go to him now. He might even lose his title prince, I think, which would throw the whole Nostradamus concept out. So I'm not saying the same things as Nostradamus here, but I feel that Prince Harry will lose his title in 2024. He won't be prince anymore. That will happen. I've said this before. Will happen after the 2024 elections. And it's been picked up by the press what I've said about that. But the way Nostradamus worded it is kind of like this. He foresaw that the King of the Isles, okay, so that's interpreted as the British Isles, so that could be King Charles, keep calling him Prince even after this time, and he would be driven out by force. Force is a strong word, isn't it? What do they mean by that? That King Charles would be forced out of power and replaced by, and to quote Nostradamus, one who will have no mark of the king. No mark of the king. What do they mean by, what could that mean? An unanointed king? The mark of the king is the anointing, isn't it? Or does it mean, as we would interpret that, someone who has no kingship qualities? Because Harry would be somebody that most people look at and say he has none of the qualities suitable for being a king, none of the discretion, for example. So there's question marks over that. So the thought is that the one that has no marks of a king could indeed be Harry, because he has none of the qualities to make a king. So that's one of the predictions they picked up on. What do you think? Put it in the comments. I personally don't think that's likely at all, but so often the strangest predictions often do come true. Anyway, watch our raw predictions too, because Jane and I are making some more on Friday, and we'll be talking about those again, so you can get the psychic's view on this as well. Now, one of the other things that they've picked up from Nostradamus, which is pretty remarkable, really, is that he talks a lot in some of the quatrains about wildfires, floodings, and drought. And the press are picking up and saying this is going to happen in 2024. Actually, there's absolutely no reference in the text to say that it will be 2024. No astrological suggestions, because sometimes you could mark Nostradamus by the positions of the planets that he suggested. The way Nostradamus used to do it, he was, I suppose, first and foremost, a seer, a psychic, like the way I do things. He would look into, his method was to scry, which is a form of water scrying, which you look into the shadows of water. And he would see visions and images and pictures in his mind, the same way you might say perhaps see images and pictures in the clouds and then interpret those. I think that's probably a bit loose, but something like that, a kind of a visual projection technique that he used. And he would see these images, see these pictures of the future, and then try to date them by looking at astrology. So for him, astrology was actually in many ways secondary as his gift, because he'd use his visions and then look for things that had happened in the past. So he'd look for, okay, there was a battle at this time and the planets were in this position. Will the planets and stars align in a similar way in the future? And he'd work out for the future where the planets and stars would be at that in a similar position and say, that's when it's likely to happen. So he looked at things like that, and the press have written to say that they think that there's going to be dry earth and things like that. Nostradamus wrote that dry earth will grow more parched and there will be great floods when it is seen. So this is an interpretation that the press have jumped on now to say that there's going to be a time of drought and floods simultaneously, which actually is quite likely in the conditions we've got ahead. I've made some predictions in the 2024 video about this. Extreme weather is very likely. It's now just a question of where will it be? That's where the psychics come, because it's going to happen. We're going to get more and more extremes. And I have mentioned also about the dangers of the sun, because I feel there's going to be new sort of solar flares and things like this that will be a disruptive for 2024. I have predicted that the Pope will die in 2024, so I'm making that prediction. I feel the Pope will die in 2024, be replaced. Nostradamus seems to give a similar sort of view here. He predicted the new head of the Catholic Church as Pope Francis turns 87 before the new year. He has been showing frailties in health, actually. So even, you know, if I make that prediction or any of us make that prediction, it's kind of likely he's not got long with us. The actual quote from Nostradamus says this: "Through the death of a very old pontiff, a Roman of good age will be elected. Of him it will be said that he weakens his see, but long will he sit in biting activity." So they've kind of interpreted that as the death of a pope, and that they feel that 2024 will be the time of the death of the pope. There are various other interpretations around in the press at the moment of Nostradamus and his predictions. These seem to be the main ones that are coming to the fore at the moment. Prince Harry becomes king. That's a good headline, isn't it? That the China war will wage. I think I've said that happen. I've been talking about that for years, actually, that's coming these coming times, and climate disaster and a new pope. Those are the main ones that the press are picking up on this year. What do you think? Do you think they kind of abuse Nostradamus in many ways? They use him for grabbing headlines. I don't think they got it right on a lot of it, but I'd be interested to see, what do you think? And if you want to get some other predictions, you want to get something from a new Nostradamus, as they call me, have a look at my predictions. We're going to be making a few more in the coming weeks. There's already the main 2024 predictions out there, and there's also going to be some new ones for the royal family coming up with Jane and myself soon. So follow the show on Friday evenings, and also follow my regular Coffees with Craig here. So put your ideas. What do you think? What do you think is the most important Nostradamus prediction that's being made for 2024? And can we ever really sort of justify that it's definitely going to happen at Nostradamus? Where did he actually quote 2024? That's where I always question. He said some of these things, but where is it 2024? Okay, thanks for joining me for this short little Coffee with Craig. See you again soon. I'm going to be making a lot of predictions, so follow the channel. See you soon. Bye for now. So do you like what I have to say? And do you like my work? Well, why don't you support my work? Have a look in the description below to go to my website, find out about psychic readings, find out about our NAADI readings with the Indian NAADI Oracle, buy my books, and join my workshops online by Zoom. All there on the website psychics.co.uk.